study from our universities. I lost some of y'all now because we had university. When the Greeks came in, they called it Aegyptos, which also means land of the burnt-skinned people. So they knew who we were. We knew who we were, but our ancestors left footprints in the sands of time for such a time as this, lest we forgot who we were. So as you can see, the pyramids were not tombs. Just tombs. They were astrological observatories where we calculated celestial patterns, where we studied the sacred sciences that the Greeks called the mystery system, where we did rituals of remembrance and rituals of resurrection. If we go to the next slide here. Here's another shot of the pyramids rising over the city. Next slide. Now look at how people are replicating your culture. Incorrectly, by the way. This is in Las Vegas. This is the Luxor Hotel in Las Vegas, Nevada. It's a beautiful pyramid that they built. But look at, what's that thing in the foreground that has the face of a man? What do they call that? The Greeks called it a sphinx. We called it the Horemakhet. Everybody say Horemakhet. Now the features on that face don't look like they're uniquely African, do they? Again, someone trying to claim your culture for theirs. We're going to go a little bit further, and I'm going to show you some other things about that. Here's the Memphis Pyramid in Tennessee. It's a sports arena where the Memphis Grizzlies play. Again, somebody using your culture. Nothing wrong with them using it. I just would like for them to tell where they got it from. The original name of the city of Memphis, which is in Egypt now, the Greeks called it Memphis. We called it Menepher. Everybody say Menepher. And it was named after a king who had united the land. Go to the next slide, brother. Here's the Louvre Museum in Paris, France. Again, we see our architecture. Go to the next slide. See, it's all out there hidden in plain view. But what I'm about to show you in this point of the presentation, brothers and sisters, is that America was built not only on African labor through slavery. America was built on African knowledge. Ashe? America was built on African knowledge. Y'all ain't feeling me on that. That's why I want you to say prove it.
Prove it.
One more time, prove it.
Prove it.
Okay, well this is a picture of the Lincoln Memorial. Most of the time, for those of us who have been to DC and seen it or seen it in a book, we didn't think much of it. But let me show you where it comes from. It comes from Pharaoh Ramesu. Everybody say Ramesu.
Ramesu.
Here, you can find this picture of Pharaoh Ramesu, whom the Greeks call Ramesses, at the temple of Abu Simbel, which is in Abu Simbel, Egypt. So go to the next slide here. And you can see a better picture of this. Is a picture that I took of it so that you can see how massive the structure is in comparison to the people sitting there. And not only that, but the unique thing about this temple is it wasn't built from the ground up. It was carved out of a mountain. They went and they carved this, and there's a massive temple on the inside of the mountain where they carved through and did some amazing hieroglyphs and so forth. Go to the next slide, brother. So it's at this time I need to give you a quick quiz. Which came first, Ramesu or Abraham Lincoln?
Ramesu.
Okay, give yourselves a round of applause. You passed the first part of the test. I think we might be ready to go a little bit further. Now some of you, I know I got some skeptics in the house. You're saying, well, that could just be a coincidence. You know, it doesn't necessarily mean that the founding fathers studied about our history and culture to build America. Well, I always bring many different examples to prove my point. So as we go to the next slide here, what about the Washington Monument? How many of you have been to D.C.? Okay, hands down. The Washington Monument is the largest structure, actually it's the largest man-made structure on Earth. 555 feet tall. Tallest in Washington, D.C. There's actually a city ordinance, a law that says no building can be built taller than the Washington Monument because they want you to see it from whatever side of the city you're on. And you can. You can look out on the horizon and see it. But let me just ask you to make a guess. Where do you think the design for that comes from? Kimberly. Yeah. That's a good guess. Let's see if we can verify that. We called it a Tekken. Everybody say Tekken. This is a picture of the Tekken of Hatshepsut, which I took. And you can see also that the Washington Monument stands in front of a reflecting pool. The reason I took this picture of the Tekken with the sun shining behind it is because it was used as a form of telling time by the way that the sun cast a shadow on it. So it was like a sundial. They could tell what time of day it was based on the shadow that was cast. So as we go a little bit further, you see the sacred lake there. But to my amazement, when I went into the temple, I saw not only the Tekken, one more time, see, come up there. I saw not only the Tekken, but I also saw the lake. You see, the founding fathers of America studied your history and culture very carefully because they wanted to recreate a country that was as great as Kemet here in America. And they knew they could not do it without you. That's why you were brought here. That's why our ancestors were brought here. But they did not want us to have the power that we had in ancient times. They wanted us to be ignorant and subservient to them. Let's go a little bit further. As you can see, there are usually 2 Tekken at the entrance of all the great temples. How many Tekken do you see?
1.
Okay. Well, what do you think happened to the other one?
They came and got it.
Somebody said it fell down. Remember, we built for eternity. So it didn't just fall down.
It was knocked down.
Somebody knocked it down and stole it. Somebody jacked your Tekken. Somebody devoted your Tekken. Is that the word y'all use? And if we go to the next slide, you'll see what they did with it. Other people stole your Tekken. So you can go to Paris, France, and you will see one of our Tekken sitting in the Place de la Concorde. You can go to Vatican City in Rome where the Pope is, and you'll see where they jacked one of your Tekken there, and they got it sitting right in the middle of St. Peter's Square. You can go to Rome, Italy itself, and you will see where they stole your artifacts and tried to claim it as their own. Ashe, are y'all with me?
Ashe.
Let's go a little bit further, because what I'm trying to show you is that somebody has pulled the wool over your eyes. But if they can just keep you dancing and shaking and not thinking, they'll still be in control. But you don't have to go all the way to Kemet. Just look at the downtown skyline and you see your architectural form. How many of you have seen these buildings before? Do you see the step pyramid right there? That's why it says sharpen your eyes and tune your ears so you'll know what you see and understand what you hear. People have built a great civilization using your knowledge and using your labor, and yet we still end up on the bottom. But we're in the midst of a great transformation. Humanity is going through a great transformation, and you all are the ones that are going to rise and ascend to power. Yeah, you all are the ones that are going to do that. Because the world is in great travail. That's why it's marked by wars and rumors of war. But you all are the ones that are going to change all of that around once we reclaim this ancient knowledge. Go to the next slide. You see our architecture. You see these different buildings that look like the Tekken, that look like the pyramid. So as we go to the next slide, again, people have used this without your knowledge, so I got to give you the second part of my quiz. Which came first, the Tekken or the Washington Monument? The Tekken. Ashe. Everybody say, show me the money.
Show me the money.
One more time, show me the money.
Show me the money.
I told you America was built on African knowledge. What do you see on the back of the dollar bill that is uniquely African and not American? You see the pyramid, and on top of the pyramid, you see the all-seeing eye. Remember I told you about the third eye? Okay, the eye of all-seeing enlightenment? Everybody catches that first as we go to the next slide. Everybody usually catches that. But let me show you what most people miss on the next slide. What most people miss is the American eagle. Hit it one more time. Take a look. Comes directly from the emblem of Heru. Hit it again, please. And you can see that Heru was whom the Greeks referred to him as Horus. And he's pictured as a falcon here because his consciousness was so high that he was able to fly into the heavens. As we go to the next slide, when I went to the Nubian Museum in Aswan, I came across this magnificent statue. Go a little bit further. And this magnificent statue intrigued me, and I found out that this was a statue of Heru. And I said, man, check that out. Heru was a bald-headed, broad-shouldered, handsome, bald-headed black man just like me. Ashe?
Ashe.
But the reason I point that out is because if you study your history and your culture long enough, you will see a reflection of yourself. There's so many different artifacts that show that this was African people, something we shouldn't even have to prove. But I have to go around the world proving it so we'll know who we are and rescue and reconstruct our history. So as we go a little bit further here, if I were to send you to the library right now to do a project for me on ancient Egypt, these are the kind of books that you would see. False images. And you have to ask yourself, why would somebody continue to claim your cultural accomplishments for their own? But let's be historically accurate here. Now the Greeks did eventually invade Kemet, but they didn't do that until 332 BC. The Great Pyramid building period, the temple building period, the papyrus and writing periods were long before the Greeks even showed up on the scene. As Dr. John Henry Clark said, we had done all of these things before the first European lived in a house with a window or wore a shoe. Ashe?
Ashe.
But we have to go back and dispel the myths, because I had to ask the question, how long will they tell the lie? Just this time last year, National Geographic had this on their cover. And what does that